Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. It's good to have you back. On today's show, we'll be reflecting on Manchester United's transfer business in the January transfer. We'll be addressing some about that in my company, as usual, Shawnee and Reta, helping me break these things down. We'll be taking a look at some of the feedback from the local fans in the comments we've got as well at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that, not with your eyes, but with your ears. Now, Odion Ighalo, the Nigerian striker, he's 30 years old. He's in decline. He's not at the peak of his career by any stretch of an imagination. He's been described by many Nigerian fans as somewhat of an icon, a leader in that dressing room. I don't know if that really translates to domestic football in any way, but it should, because if you're a leader, you're a leader, and if you're not, you're not. He scored 15 goals in his last season in the Premier League for Watford, in case you were interested, and then got offered 300k to play in China. And at that time in the world, that was an insane amount of money. So, I do not blame him in any way for taking that business decision. 2 years later, 2.5 years later, I guess you could say, his season in China, as you can see on the screen there, 17 goals currently. Top goal scorer in the AFCON in 2019 as well. So we're not looking at a bad player here, are we, gentlemen? We're looking at a player with pedigree.
Yeah. He's a classic striker. Played 17 games, got 10 goals, no assists in the league. But I think he will offer something that United don't have, and that's an out-and-out proper striker who will stay up and just look for a shot towards goal.
Strong as well.
Look, if it's Ighalo or no one, I'll take Ighalo any day. He's a striker. We need goals. He's a target man. We need a target man because Martial can't really do that. And you spoke of the leadership. It doesn't matter. Obviously, he has to hold his own on the field. But then if he can help us in the leadership department, which we're really struggling on, it's a big plus.
Yeah. In relation to who we were linked with, bar Edison Cavani and maybe Timo Werner, do you think this guy is much better than some of the rumors that were coming in on transfer deadline day? Like the 25 million bid for Josh King?
Personally, I really wasn't excited. I would have taken like a Cavani, in my opinion. But this guy is a fan of the club. He loves United. He's been his dream club to go to, and I think he will give everything for the badge, and I'm gonna back him.
Well, I said Cavani for a reason, didn't I?
Yeah.
I wouldn't take Cavani.
I think it was the best of the lot, to be honest. I mean, Cavani is Cavani in his pedigree, but then he's extremely injury prone, and we don't need that. We have so many injury prone players. Not to add, he was probably gonna want to start going into next season as well. Okay, it's a loan. If you got him a loan, it would have been fine, but then still, I think he's the
we'd
better
never have got Edison Cavani on a loan. That's not happening in a million years. He's on £200,000.
Yeah, the money.
So we would have had to buy him.
Yeah. And Slimani, I'm sorry, it's Slimani, but he's crap. Josh King would have been a fairy tale move, but then for us, the most realistic and practical move with the options was Ighalo.
Yeah, and also he's not playing much football at the moment because of the coronavirus. Thoughts and prayers to any victims and anyone who's affected, perhaps a family member or someone you may know, even if they're a distant acquaintance. Thoughts and prayers to those people. Yeah, he's not really playing at the moment. The Chinese league has been suspended because of the outbreak of the virus, and I think this guy is fit. He's in shape. He doesn't get injured a lot. You look at someone like Cavani. He's had 4 injuries in 5 months. We don't need that at Old Trafford. We've already got Martial, who's going to be injured soon. We've got an injured player on the bench in Rashford. Well, not on the bench, but in the recovery room, rather, in Rashford. Pogba's injured. McTominay's injured. Bailey's not fit to play in the first team. And even though Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says he is, he's not playing. So the only assumption left is that he's either not fit or he's just not good enough, according to Ole. We don't need another player coming to this club with a horrible injury record. Like 4 injuries in 5 months. That's bad. I don't care how much you defend Cavani. That's bad.
Yeah.
You can't justify that. As a professional footballer, as an athlete, 4 injuries in 5 months. You've been out 4 times. Yeah. I don't think anybody's that. I don't even think Sturridge was that bad in his prime injury.
It's not just the season. His injuries, he was, for the longest time, he was PSG's talisman, and his injuries have cost PSG so many times in the Champions League. Because when they need him at the most, he wasn't there.
Yeah. So, for me, I would say based on pedigree alone, Cavani's the obvious no-brainer. But when you look at it pragmatically and you actually do your research, Cavani would have been a terrible signing because we probably would have had to pay 50 million quid for a guy to just come and sit in our recovery room and probably up his wages as well. And also, for those of you who don't know, Edison Cavani does not want to come to the Premier League. He does not care about the money. He specifically said that he wanted to go to Atletico Madrid. That was his plan, and that deal didn't work out. And he specifically said he would not come to the Premier League for money because to him it's not about the money. So there you go. It just wasn't a realistic signing no matter how you look at it. But anyways, thoughts on Ashley Young leaving. Of course, Ashley Young and Marcus Rojo went out on loan. Ashley Young actually left the club, for those of you who don't know. What are your thoughts on Young leaving?
I mean, at the time, I think I said I didn't really agree with it because I did like Young. I thought we were a bit short-staffed, so I didn't really agree with it. But, in the long run and stuff, it was the right move. I think Young also knew that, he's coming towards the end of his career. Why not just go to Italy, so slower league, probably better quality of life, and just enjoy himself. So I don't blame Young. He's a great servant of the club, and I wish him all the best.
To be fair, he probably wanted to play some football as well, because Ollie was being a bit of a dickhead in the smaller games.
Yeah. Look, on the long run, I think it makes perfect sense. Ollie did say he wants to clear out, and we're seeing it. Yes, he's loaned out Rojo. I think maybe we should have sold him, but maybe they couldn't sell him because of how much wages he earns. But I think this is a start to something, and he was baggage. We couldn't keep him there because we want to transform the club, bring in young players, and build for the future. And Young represents everything against that.
Yeah, definitely. It's the tragic irony in Ashley Young's surname. He's young but he's old. He's old but he's young. Few players that Manchester United have been linked to. We'll get to that in a minute, and some of your thoughts and comments. But, gentlemen, what do you think of the rest of the Premier League's transfer window? Do you think Manchester United ultimately won the transfer window in Europe? I think they did because of how bad... Not in Europe, sorry, in England. I think Dortmund won in Europe. But I think everybody else has been bad in England. I don't know if Chelsea signed anyone. I don't know if Arsenal signed anyone worth mentioning. And I'm not sure who... But I think Spurs made a good signing, but it was only one, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
It is, yeah.
I think
and they didn't even sign a striker.
They didn't, but I rate Bergwijn. I think he'll get them goals, and I think for the future, he's the solution to the right-wing problem. I'm not sure. It's between Spurs and United because they got Bergwijn. They got out Ericsson, who's been crying out to leave the club. So they got rid of that baggage. They got out Rose, who also has been crying to leave the club. So they made some really good moves. But in terms of stature, I think the signing of Bruno Fernandes probably puts United on top.
Yeah, I agree. I think Man United signing Bruno Fernandes was the signing of the January window, and I don't think anyone really, in the Premier League, can compete with Bruno Fernandes signing.
I would actually also add that Odion Igalo might not be the signing that Manchester United fans want. It might not be the signing that Manchester United fans want to hear. It might not be your cup of tea, but United needed a striker, and they bought a striker. United needed a cam, and they bought a cam. Spurs desperately need a striker. They didn't buy a striker.
Yeah.
So for me, ignore the names, ignore all the big budgets, ignore the numbers, and just look at position for position. And I think Manchester United ultimately got rid of two players they didn't need and brought in two players they desperately needed.
Yeah.
In Odion Igalo.
In that instance, I forgot about Igalo. Yeah, I think in terms of the positions that needed cover, United win. Honestly, I'm shocked on how most of the Premier League teams wasted the window. I mean, Man City, they need a defender. They did nothing about it. Arsenal, the worst of the lot. It's been very...
Liverpool didn't really need to sign anyone, to be fair to them. Yeah. It's a strange signing, Odion Igalo, because it's riddled with so much negativity. And I think the negativity should be directed at the club and not the signing. And the reason why I think that is because the Odion Ighalo signing is a reflection of poor planning on behalf of Manchester United. And it's not about Odion Ighalo. It's not about the player himself. It's about the fact that, and even to a certain extent, the Bruno Fernandes signing actually is a negative signing, because it's about the fact that we knew we needed players in the summer and we waited all this time to get players. It's not about the fact that we signed Odion Ighalo. It's not about the fact that we would have brought in a Cavani. It's not about the fact that we would have brought in a Timo Werner. If Timo Werner was here, we'd probably be saying that's a great signing. But in reality, we let Lukaku go in the summer, and we went 6 months and we got punished without the right amount of players, both in midfield and attack, rightfully so. And we've only reacted in January when everybody's injured. That's poor. That's poor planning, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the anger should be directed at, not Odion Ighalo, because Odion Ighalo, to me, actually looking at the amount of pedigree he has, makes perfect sense compared to who else we were linked with. I mean, Timo Werner said he wasn't coming here, so the deal wasn't going to happen either.
We're never getting anyone to know Werner. I want to ask, does Ighalo start though?
Does
he start? Does he start playing the starting lineup for us going forward for the rest of the
If
season?
you're asking me, I say it depends on it. It depends. Actually, in this system, yes. In this system, yes. I think if he's going to be here for 6 months, we might as well get the best out of him, because I don't think Martial is going to work without Rashford next to him. Unless Martial can get his act together and actually play like a number 9, I think, yes, play Martial on the left and bring Ighalo in, and bring Greenwood off the bench to rest Ighalo. But I think because Ighalo is a short-term signing, we should get the absolute best out of him. Let's not bring this guy in for £4 million loan deal budget and then the 100k per week while he's here for the next however many weeks. Let's not pay the guy that much money and then he's just here to sit on the bench. Let's actually use him.
Yeah.
Enough with this nonsense of signing players and renewing contracts and not using players.
Yeah.
Enough of that.
In terms of goals, I think Martial on the left, maybe Greenwood for most games on the right, and Ighalo to the middle. I think that's the best combination.
Yeah, and then you can rest a bit of Dan James as well. Dan James can get a bit of a rest every now and then.
Yeah.
Hopefully. You never know with United. I don't know what Shawnee's opinion is on that.
No, yeah, I agree. Like I said, the whole thing about Ighalo coming to United, I still do believe. Like, the main thing for me is that he's a freaking big fan of Man United since he was young. He's always idolized Man United, and that was his dream club. And I kind of think, like, it was, if one of us, any of our fans, got our dream move to United, I can guarantee you will give everything. And, he will score. I think he'll score goals. I think because our expectations are so low and things, he will exceed them. And I think going forward until Rashford and some players are back, we should definitely start playing him more because he's fresh. He needs to score. And in a system like this, it'll work.
Mm.
It's funny because he's going to sell a lot of shirts in Nigeria as well. Bit of a dream signing for them.
Win-win.
Look, all I will say about Ighalo is whether you like him or hate him, whether you're mad at him or not, whether you are, dumbfounded as to why Manchester United would go for a player like Ighalo. No disrespect to Ighalo. Here's why. Nobody wants to come to this club. As sad as that is, nobody good at the moment wants to come to this club. I don't think so. Mm. You can name players on one hand who want to come to Manchester. Who might come to Manchester United with the right amount of money. But very few players in the world at the moment have the mentality of a Bruno Fernandes, who see a badge and they associate their childhood and all their passion towards the sport. They're affiliated with that club. And so they are able to look past the glory, the money, and they just want to come play for the club and give their all. Very few players are like that nowadays. Cavani does not want to come here. Timo Werner does not want to come here. Sancho might not come here if there's no what's it called? If there's no Champions League. Yeah, why would you leave Borussia Dortmund, which is one of the best teams in Germany at the moment and is playing in the Champions League, to come play in a Manchester United team unless the figures were ridiculously high? So the reality is, and it's a tough pill to swallow for Manchester United fans, and I'm not defending Ed Woodward because he's done this to himself, him and the Glazers, but the reality of our situation is we're not the club we once was when it comes to the transfer negotiations. We can't say, hey, do you want to come play for us? And people see the badge and they're like, yeah, Screw the money. You know, that doesn't matter. That doesn't work anymore. People know where the club has been for the last 7 years, and they're like, mate, the only way I'm coming to that shit house is if you pay me. Give me 300k, and I'm on my way then. You know, and I know a lot of United fans don't want to hear that, but that's just the harsh reality of where we are as a football club. And until we start winning, getting a consistent plan, philosophy, vision, and a consistent run of games, I don't think we'll see any quality. I don't know if there's anything more to say with regards to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's get on to the fan suggestions, Shoni.
Yeah, so basically, to get the fans involved and people who watch the channel, the simple question was put out. You know, obviously we got Bruno Fernandes and Igalo, but I gave them the question of if they could make one signing, one realistic signing, and it was completely up to them, who would their signing be? And we're going to start off with Jadon Sancho here, right? MTG Isa Apollo said that, in his opinion, I would want Jadon Sancho, although that might not be realistic at this point of time, obviously because of Champions League football. But he thinks that he's an amazing footballer with the skill, the pace, the finishing. He basically has everything, and he's still very young. And it's not the only fan that has wanted Jadon Sancho. Jeffrey also said that since Oli wants a fluid front three and interchangeability, that Jadon Sancho is the guy that he said, because of his young, talented, and best and he thinks that he believes that Jadon Sancho is the best creative right winger in the world right now. I don't know what your guys' opinion is, but I agree. I think that this would be United's dream signing. Definitely. I mean, you look at these in all competitions this season, 27 games, 15 goals, 13 assists. I mean, this is a baller. This is definitely a baller, and I think this would be the dream signing. But there's so many things that depends on whether or not he can come to Manchester United.
I think he'll be sat there looking at the Bruno Fernandes signing, thinking, "Ooh, I want some of that." But you know, with Jadon Sancho, and I don't want to crush anyone's spirits here, but I'm just going to try to be as honest and as blunt as possible. It's not an unrealistic signing. It's not. What makes it an unrealistic signing is whether or not this guy wants to come here, and there's two factors. The obvious one being Champions League football. Actually, there's three factors. First one, Champions League football. Fine, we got that out the way. Wages. Fine, we got that out the way. We can pay this guy a lot of money. But who else is offering him? That's the third part. That's the big part. Jadon Sancho is not going to come to Manchester United if Chelsea are offering him, if Liverpool are offering him, and if Man City are offering him. You'd honestly be a fool for your career if you decided to turn down Liverpool to come to Manchester United, unless you were a Manchester United fan. Then I can understand that. If you love the club, I respect that, and you have the passion. But if you, in your honest mind, make a business decision to come to Manchester United instead of going to Liverpool, it's a strange decision. And I think Jadon Sancho is the kind of player who will fancy a battle with Mo Salah, who will think, you know what, I can do it. I can win a Champions League. I can bench Mo Salah. I think he's that kind of player. And I think for a lot of you, he's that good. A lot of you said he's the best in the world. So
I mean,
for me,
look at those stats. It's ridiculous.
His stats are ridiculous. This guy could bench Salah if he had a good season. Well, not bench, but they could share the role, you know. And over time, he would take over Salah's role if he was good enough. So to be as blunt and as honest as possible, if we're the only team in for him and we don't leak the freaking negotiations to the press and take 6 weeks to get it done and then only wait for a team to bid to pay the right amount of money, yeah, we can get this guy. But if Chelsea come knocking on his door, I don't know.
Yeah, a strategy won't work with this one. Like I think he is of that class. I think if Liverpool inevitably fail on the attempt to get Mbappe, they'll be interested. I think Chelsea will definitely be interested, and it's going to be very difficult for us to get him. I think 100 million plus for us to attract him. And you know, I used to doubt this player. I'm being honest. I just think he's overrated. Until I watched him in the Champions League against Barca. He came on with Dortmund was really flat and just picked everything up and just turned Dortmund on. So I think he's a really good player.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was definitely the first one. The next one, obviously, my personal favorite. There's no one better for me. If it is up to me,
get your lube out.
I would sign Jack Grealish, 24 years old. He's playing for Aston Villa. He's a captain. You know, the goals and assists aren't as glorious as Jadon Sancho. But, you know, he's English. You know, we are Brexit FC. He's Premier League proven. He'll be cheaper than Jadon Sancho. And he's in an Aston Villa side that has been struggling. He single-handedly got this team promoted to the Premier League, and he's single-handedly keeping them afloat in this league. And now he's definitely my personal favorite, without a doubt. I was going to choose even Jack Grealish over Bruno Fernandes, and people would call me crazy, but this is what it's all about. And the one fan that has a similar opinion with me was Mr. Sipo Zimba, and he said that I would say Jack Grealish, because judging from his performance, he's been constantly performing and scoring, and that goals are what United currently need. And I kind of agree with him. He's got goals, he's got assists, and he's a very good leader. And I just think this would be a great signing for Manchester United, and he's more realistic as well.
Yeah. Get your lube out, because Shawnee's got a hard on. Get your lube out. No, okay, so it's a good signing, And what I would say, I know the debate already. It's Maddison versus Grealish. Firstly, I think the debate between Maddison and Grealish is null and void, and it's kind of silly in my opinion. And I don't mean to offend anyone. We're all football fans. We all have our own opinions, and there's nothing wrong with debating till 2 a.m. about who you think is better between Maddison and Grealish. If Grealish is cheaper, I would 100% take Grealish because he's not that far off Maddison anyways.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like, I don't know who to make an example of, but it's like, do you want Mbappe or Sancho? Do you want to pay 200 million for Mbappe, or do you want to pay 100 million for Sancho? And Sancho's still an amazing player, bro. Like, you don't need Mbappe. It's the same thing with Grealish and Maddison. And I'm not saying Sancho's as good as Maddison. I just couldn't come up with a better example, but I hope you get the point.
Yeah, and we will go on to Maddison later on the show.
Yeah,
okay.
Of course. Maddison is coming up. I think this should be the first player United to go for come the summer. It's a no-brainer. I think Aston Villa are probably going to get relegated, and we have Bruno Fernandes who can play in the 8, and we need a 10. We need a goal scorer. We need a creator, and he's perfect for that. And he'll be much, much cheaper than James Maddison is. And yeah, there's literally nothing wrong with the signing.
I think he's a little bit more passionate than Maddison. I don't really know what the opinion is on Maddison. Obviously, we'll get to him later, as Shawnee said, but I don't know how many people actually want Maddison at United compared to Grealish. But I think Grealish is more of it's more like the dream signing, because it's like this guy who's playing in a struggling team and he's lifting them on his back, and then his team gets relegated and he just couldn't do it, so now he's got to look out for his career, and he goes to Old Trafford. It's such a romantic signing.
To be completely honest, I think this guy is a workhorse, but I think Maddison's slightly more creative.
I think so as well, but I also think it depends on the team and system they're playing in. I think because Grealish is in a broken system, just like United, he's getting more goals, he's getting more assists. They're very similar, don't get me wrong, but he's also cheaper. I think Grealish would be way better than Maddison. I think if we come to Maddison, he would possibly struggle in a broken team. And we can see Grealish is shining in a broken team.
Yeah, the key thing is slightly there, right? Like, he's slightly better, but do you want to pay £20 million for slightly?
It's not worth it.
I don't know.
And isn't he the captain? So leadership.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm desperate for at the moment.
And I've been following him since the championship. I cannot explain how happy I would be if United somehow signed this player in the summer.
United should just make 3 captains armbands for their upcoming signings. Give Bruno one, give Maguire one, give this guy one, and then give De Gea one as well.
Yeah, and like we're saying, you don't know. Captains. Marcus is saying he doesn't know how many United fans feel between Grealish and versus Maddison. But from what I've seen, I think the English UK fans all prefer Maddison. Yeah. And I think overseas and foreign, especially locally here in South Africa, I think there's lots of guys who prefer Jack Grealish.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense that the UK would prefer Maddison.
We need people like that in the midfield. We've always struggled with people who can take a game by the scruff of the neck and say, I'm going to change this game. Gents, let's win this game. Even we're losing. And we need people like that. And I think he is slightly better at that than James Maddison is. And Bruno Fernandes is definitely good at that. So it'd be a really good combination.
Just before we move on, that's an important point there, because I think Grealish, Bruno Fernandes, and anyone else we hope to bring into the club, maybe Igalo, maybe we'll see it with Igalo, who knows. I think those are the kinds of players I was talking about. When people were saying Maguire's not a leader, Maguire's not that. Maguire's not the kind of guy who's going to get upset and outrage. That's not his personality type. He's a very reserved, calm person. Like I said, he leads in stature and he leads by example. Yes, he's not playing well at the moment, but when the team around him gets better, he will pick up form. These are the kinds of guys who lead without an armband. These are the kinds of guys. These are your Pogbas. who don't need the captain's armband, but they still lead. And these are the types of guys you need around your captain in a team, because the captain can't do it all himself. You know, I think it's so unfair that we look at captains and we expect them to fit a certain stereotype or a certain mold, but it's just not true. And the best example was Messi at Argentina. You never see Messi like getting extremely mad and, you know, showing extreme signs of passion. He's a very reserved guy. He's a very humble character. I think anybody would agree with that when it comes to Messi. But if he has the people around him who can do the things that he's not good at, then Gucci, you know, gold.
Yeah. Well, anyways, moving on. I think the next one, there's definitely been a lot of noise around him. I think there would be a few teams interested into him. We definitely were in for him in the last summer, and you know, rumors are coming out that we're in for him again in the next summer. And who other than Kalidou Koulibaly, 28 years old, defender, centre back from Napoli. All competitions he played 20 games, kept 6 clean sheets, has a red card, has a yellow card. This guy is one of the world's best centre backs. And Ryan Gurney says that he'd get Koulibaly as he feels that United do not have enough experience and should be looking to get more mature players in. Not that he doesn't like Lindelof, but has seen the Napoli defender at work and has been damn good. It would be 3 new defenders in the last year in terms of transfers, but to be honest, he thinks that this is what we need.
Ryan, I love you for this suggestion, and I think you've got a great opinion. But the reason why I had such negative remarks when Shoni started talking is because this is the kind of signing where Manchester United get linked to in the papers, and you're just like, okay, again, you know, like when is it going to happen? You know, I don't even know where to begin with Koulibaly, because I don't know if Manchester United will spend more than £80 million on a centre-back if he doesn't have an English passport.
Yeah. Like, Koulibaly is definitely what we need. But I can bet my house it's not going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen. Because with so much problems in the midfield and attack, there's no time to sign a centre-back, especially after signing Harry Maguire. Woodward is not going to have that. It's like, nah, mate, no way, Oli. So,
and Ryan, sorry, you can finish.
Yeah, so I think in a perfect world we can get him, he's perfect. He will fix our defensive issues. He will shut them down. Lindelof will probably bench, and he'll complement Maguire way better than Lindelof does. So it would be brilliant, but not going to happen.
Yeah, and
Ryan, sorry to cut you off, but Ryan, if you're listening to the show, something to get your brain juices flowing. If we sign someone like this for 90 million, 80 million pounds, whatever it is, do you prefer we sign someone like Koulibaly with the money from selling Paul Pogba? Because that's the Glazers' logic. They're going to sell the player and then use that money to make up for the net spend or whatever it is. Would you prefer we sign a player like this and sacrifice another position going forward? Because, mate, we ain't signing Koulibaly and a right wing and a striker and another midfielder. Like, you know this club. I'm sure you know it as well as I do. It ain't happening. Would you prefer that, or would you rather we don't sign Koulibaly and we go get some attacking players? You know, you can just answer that in your own spare time, I guess, because you're obviously on the video.
Yeah, just a comment below. But yeah, the last thing I would say about Koulibaly is that I did want him in the summer over Maguire. I definitely wanted him. You know, if United somehow did have to sign him, I wouldn't be mad. You know, like it's still a world-class player in my opinion. I think he's amazing. Yeah. I think defensively, then we sorted 100%. I think Maguire and Koulibaly will complement each other very well. But you know, percentage-wise, if I had to give a percentage, I would say possibly 15 to 20% of us getting Koulibaly.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And he's getting older now as well. Like, that's the sad thing. Like, this guy is aging with the transfer rumors. Yeah. He's getting as old as the rumors that linked him to United.
And the sad part is we might end up losing him to Man City, which will be horrible.
Or not United. We might end up signing him when he's 31.
Yeah, you never know. But yeah, moving on. I basically merged these two guys into one. And I thought the one option was very interesting. Only one of our fans and viewers mentioned him. And it was his personal favorite. But yeah, Todd Cantwell. And Clayface13 says, with how things are currently run, with our almost perfect run of Brexit FC players, bar Bruno, that he would get Todd Cantwell, as he feels that he is carrying Norwich and has a high work rate. He tracks back a lot, wins the ball a lot, and turns and goes forward. He's also very young and can get only better.
Oh, I read that incorrectly. I thought it said 26 goals. I was losing my mind. Sorry. Sorry for interrupting you, but I was losing my mind.
Yeah. I have seen him at Norwich. He is pretty decent. Whether it's my type of signing, personally, not really. 21 is young, not as young as a Sancho, though. I would say that. He'll be much cheaper, obviously, though.
If we were to get a player like this, I wouldn't be mad or upset. I would be more reserved and confused and a little bit excited to see what he has to offer, but not high hopes. It would be like the Dan James signing again.
Yeah.
That's all I would say. Like, I don't know much about him, so I can't pretend.
Yeah. Look, I'd take him and Grealish because I think it wouldn't be too expensive. I think the amount of money we pay for Madison will cover him and Grealish, possibly. And he's a good bench option. I mean, we don't want Mata on our bench anymore. I love Mata.
Yeah.
You all know that, but he must go. So having Todd on the bench would be nice. And I've seen him play at Norwich. He's not amazing. He has his spell here and there, but he can grow into a really good player. So it wouldn't be a bad signing.
And he's young. So, he can develop. And you've got to take chances in football. You can't just say, well, we don't know if this is going to work out based on his form in a team that's basically the worst team we've seen in the Premier League in a long time. So let's not sign him. You've got to take risks on young prospects.
And
but I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, when I watch Norwich, obviously they're in a relegation battle. But this guy, he has seemed dangerous again, shining in a broken system is what I would say again. And then, but in terms of Todd Cantwell, if he came, I'd back him, obviously. But he's not really my type of signing. And and then moving on to James Maddison, going back to the whole him versus Grealish debate. You look at the stats now. He's played more games than Jack Grealish, 3 more games than Jack Grealish, has scored the same amount of goals and has 1 less assist, and is slightly younger than Jack Grealish.
I'm going to steal a joke from a comedian named Mark Normand to describe how I feel about the signing, James Maddison. It's like ordering onion rings and getting French fries. I'm not mad at it. I like them too, but it's just not what I was expecting, And that's James Maddison in a nutshell for me. Like, I would never, ever be mad at the James Maddison signing. But do prefer Grealish, Can't lie. Do prefer Grealish. But I'll take him. I'll take him. If United sign this player, cool beans.
What I would say is that in terms of guessing a price range between, I think we could get Jack Grealish for 50 to 60, and I think Maddison will be 80 to 100.
Yeah.
That's the price difference there.
They gave us, we paid 80 for Maguire. We're going to pay 90 for this guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too mad about the transfer thing because, people are so quick to justify transfer budgets when it's their favorite player. But when it's a player that they don't like and they think it's a player that's overrated, then all of a sudden transfer budgets are ridiculous. It's not our money, actually it might be your money if you've bought Manchester United merchandise, but you're not losing £80 million. The Glazers are. So what you complaining about, mate? The only time a signing becomes ridiculous, it's with the transfer budget, and the only time it's justified is when it's a player who's absolutely out of it and he's only going to give us a year or two and the signing's ridiculous. He's young. He's 23. So paying £90 million for a player like this, you're buying a player for potentially the next 5 to 6 seasons who will play for you at a high level. That's what you're investing in. And that's what people need to remember. You're investing long-term with a signing like this. If James Maddison was 28, 29, and we had to pay £90 million, I'd be like, are you crazy? But he's 23. And if you short-term pain for short-term gain, if you sacrifice the money now, this guy, if he plays in the right system and he plays next to Bruno Fernandes and you sell Pogba, you're going to get your money back. You're going to get your investment back. So the money it's null and void to me. The only reason it's relevant is because Jack Grealish is so similar to him and he's much cheaper.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that, with our tight transfer budget and our owners, the cheaper option would probably be smarter.
Yeah.
Look, I think Grealish would be better, but moving away from the price tags, I prefer this player. Because I think this player can grow into a world-class midfielder. I think looking at his skill sets, he's primed to be amazing. He can find an eye of a pass, he can score free kicks, he can assist. He's a complete number 10. And he's a bit inconsistent now, and I was going to make that as a point, but then I started thinking that he's young, so the consistency will come. To be playing at the level he is right now at 23 is freaking amazing. So moving away from the price tags, I would take this player.
Yeah, it's not a bad signing, He may not be your cup of tea, but even if he's not your cup of tea, it's just one of those,
Yeah, it's just
you can't be mad at it. It's just one of those. Like,
And that's
it's similar to the Bruno Fernandes signing. If Bruno Fernandes was not a player who was on your radar, he is now because he's just that good of a player. And I would say the same about Maddison if he came to United. He's just that kind of player. He will generate the headlines and the buzz, and the bite will get you. The bite will get you. You'll be on that Maddison train quicker than any other form of public transport you've been on in your life, you know. So don't really know where I was going with that metaphor, but anyways, yeah.
The next few guys, moving on to the next guys. I didn't make a slide for them because it is very tricky, but they're both two different guys, and they both mentioned the same type of position, and it's the type of position this United team has been crying out for in the midfield, and that's CDM. Obviously, Moloto said off show one of the days that he would get Van der Beek. I don't know if his opinion has changed, but before we get to Moloto, Babalo says that he would like to see Thomas Partey, and he's a central defensive midfielder, and obviously we are linked to him in the previous summer.
Yeah.
He had a release clause. He plays for Atletico Madrid from Ghana. He's very solid, and he wouldn't even be that expensive, and he'd be a decent centre back. And United, as we know, we are crying out for a centre back position. I mean, a CDM position.
So
Moloto,
you can go first. You can go first. I don't really know much
Moloto,
about
you said
this,
Van der Beek, and BB said Thomas Partey. Have you changed your opinion yet? You had time to think about it?
You know, now that I think about it, Thomas Partey is probably a better fit because I think he's slightly more defensive, and his work rate seems to fit the Premier League. So I think he will be a better buy than Van der Beek. Van der Beek's talented, but then I think he might prefer to play as he can play the 6 well, but I think he might prefer to play in the 8. So I think Thomas Partey will be a perfect signing for us.
Yeah, what I would say is that, like Marcus said, obviously said he doesn't know much about Thomas Partey, and that's all due in fairness. And I'm pretty sure, Marcus, I don't know how much you know about Van der Beek as well.
I know a bit about Van der Beek. I know he's a good player. That's all I know.
But a player you might have better knowledge about is another player of that quality is Ndidi, again from Leicester. CDM from Leicester. So between those three, if you had to get a CDM, if I was up to me, I'd probably go for a player like Ndidi because I think he's just that better. Obviously, if a Kante is there, I would take Kante any day of the week. But yeah, I think Ndidi would be the most realistic CDM at the moment.
And in terms of risk factor, Ndidi works because he's Premier League proven, so the Glazers don't have to worry about, oh, what if he comes in and he flops, you know? Like, he's there.
Yeah, but I feel like he probably is the best buy. I feel like we're asking a lot from Leicester, and they're gonna set the price very, very high because they don't want to lose.
It's not manageable. You can't just buy the whole team, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially to a top 4 rival. So with the lot, maybe Kante is not realistic. He would be the best option. Maybe we'll probably have to pay like 100 and something for Kante, which is ridiculous. I think with the lot, Thomas Partey makes the most sense because he's a CDM out and out. He's a lot like Ndidi and Kante. He'll sit there and cover and not worry too much. He has the odd goal in him, but not worry too much about going forward. And then he will leave the magic to Bruno Fernandes and whoever we buy in the 10.
Not gonna lie, man. When it comes to who I would sign for this Manchester United team, there's obviously a lot of players I would sign. But if there was that one signing that we would make, it's difficult for me to answer because I feel like there's so much this team needs, and I don't know where to begin. I won't lie to you. I don't know where to begin. I think the right wing position is a very good position to begin. But again, who do you get in the right wing position besides Sancho? Who do you get for a reasonable price who can do more than just the job, but actually command that position and become the real number 7 of Manchester United?
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that right wing is, Oli did say in that comment that Sanchez will come back and prove everyone wrong.
Oh my gosh,
it's so nonsensical. I don't want an old player. I would rather we take a chance on a very young player and not a left winger from the Championship who's playing on the wrong side. A player with a bit of pedigree.
I mean, this Ziyech at Ajax. I think he's a decent player. He's not amazing, but he wouldn't cost too much.
Yeah. Someone like Malcolm from Barcelona would have been great, but this team won't spend the money. So, it's tough. It's tough. And the CDM position is very crucial at Manchester United as well. So for me, I don't really know. I'm not going to lie. I think all the players mentioned on the show are good. Yeah.
To be honest, I would try to get Kante I know it seems ridiculous, but I think with the situation at Chelsea, it's possible we could get him out. And if we could get Kante out, that would be a brilliant signing. Brilliant. He's not too old. He's the best CDM in the world. We can get him defensively from the midfield. It can get rid of Oles Ores because he seems to worry about the position a lot. Hence, he plays 2 CDMs. But let's not go there. So I think he would be amazing. I think he'd be a good signing.
The thing with players like Kante is, here's the thing, and I'm going to sound like a bit of a hypocrite, but I'll explain myself properly. The thing is with players like Kante, right? When you look at the price tag, and the only reason the price tag is relevant is because the owners will use a price tag to justify anything in terms of not spending. When you look at the price tag, you look at his age, and yes, his pedigree is like, it's beyond, it's out of this world. Like you said, he's one of the best CDMs in the world. It just looks to me like one of those signings, again, that Manchester United is going to make. We're going to get this superstar player who's currently not in the best form of his career and try bring him in to an unestablished team and expect him to play at the level that he played at in the teams that were established and that did win a Premier League. And I don't know how I feel about that, because every major signing Manchester United have made in the last 6 years has almost failed. The Pogba we saw at Juventus is not the Pogba we got. No matter what your opinions on Paul Pogba are, that's an undeniable fact. The Pogba we got in terms of stats, the Pogba we were expecting from Juventus, is not the Pogba that came to Old Trafford. The Pogba that came to Old Trafford is levels above everyone else, which is just a reflection of where we are, but also Pogba's a very good player, so you can expect that. And even when he's in bad form, he's still better than the Lingards, the Pereiras of this world. But when I look at a signing like Kante, I just think, I'd rather have a younger version of that. Even if I lost some of the attributes, I'd rather have a younger version of that, to be honest. Because I would like to see this team actually live up to what they're saying and build for the future. And I understand that experience is important, but experience and pedigree are not the same things. Or experience and superstar status are not the same thing. Like, we don't need to go out there and buy superstar world-class talent to get experience. Yeah. If you get my drift. We can get cheaper experienced players. I don't know. If I will say this, if this board somehow miraculously changed their ambitions of what they want this club to be, and they actually decided to take out 400 mil in a transfer window, then yeah, spend 100 mil on Kante, cool, and then get more players in. But the problem is, I fear, if we buy Kante, we're only going to buy one other player to make the net spend. And then we're going to sell Pogba. So Kante is essentially replacing Pogba and not really replacing the CDM hole that we already have. Yeah. And it's just like, that's my only negative thing about the signings like Kante. With Maddison, I don't mind it, because at least with Maddison, he's very young. He's 23. So he's coming for seasons to come, and that is a future plan. That's why I don't mind Maddison. But it's just...
with our situation, it doesn't make sense. It'd be too much money when we have other problems. But in an ideal world, I think he'd be perfect if we want to go that step forward. Because he will basically fix that position. And there's the risk that he hasn't been playing in that position, and maybe he's not the same. So there's always that risk. And as I said, there's more risk with this player. But if we could get that Kante that played at Chelsea in the CDM, it would be an amazing signing, because we'd have one of the best CDM covers in the world, and we wouldn't have to worry.
It's like the Pogba signing all over again. Like, you can speculate all you want, but once he's here and he's in a shirt and the shirts are selling, you can't be negative about him until he starts playing badly. So I agree with you 100%. Like any one of these players that were mentioned on today's show, if they're in a red shirt, I'm backing them. How can you not back Kante? That's the thing. It's just it's scary, man. It's scary, because this team has a history of running players into the ground. Lukaku, Sanchez, Pogba, Herrera. Who else did we buy? That's a really good player. I'm forgetting now. Falcao, although Falcao's career was also already questionable. Di Maria. So many stars. Imagine if we had just bought young players who were committed to playing for the team. And we were in the right cycle now of development, where we could be like, okay, we've got a group of 24-year-olds who are starting to play a bit more consistent. They still don't have that magical brilliance to win games out of nothing. Let's bring in a Kante. Let's bring in a Pogba. Let's go crazy and spend 100 mil this summer on one player. Not that we need him. We just want that extra bit of quality. That would be so amazing. But instead, we spent the last 6 years buying players based on their pedigree and not based on a actual philosophy and a vision going forward. And we've just brought them in and we're like, dude, we're going to give you 300K. Come on, work something out here. Van Gaal, you happy? You happy? Di Maria's joined you. Make something happen. And it's just, you wonder.
A lot of red flags.
Yeah.
There's a lot of red flags. So
yeah, and the last thing I would say to end off is that, judging from everyone we mentioned today, the most glorious and luxurious one seems like Jadon Sancho. The most logical one and the guy that seems that, makes the most sense seems like Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
And if any of you guys want to get involved, do interact with us in the comments on our social medias as well, on Instagram, on Twitter. Let us know your opinions, take a shout out and all of that. We do want to interact with you guys. And yeah, that's about it.
I think before we finish, I think a debate worth having is that should we buy a goal scoring number 9, a target man number 9?
Yeah, like with that debate, it's almost like, I don't mean to sound big-headed or arrogant here because we all have our own opinions, but that debate can be killed very easily. Yes, why not? Why not have a different option? Even if he's not your main man, why not have a different option? Why not have 2 different kinds of strikers, We've already got Martial.
I mean, as the main man. So basically dropping Martial.
Yeah, if it makes the team better, yeah. Why not? Why not? Because
it's like if
Martial's
we had to get
perfect,
Haaland, and Haaland is doing the same things at Dortmund that he does now, I wouldn't play Martial.
Yeah. The only debate for number 9, sorry to cut you off, but the only debate for a classic number 9 is this team doesn't create chances. And that's why someone like Igalo might struggle even more. That's the only word.
Doesn't have to be a big and slow number 9. There are people who are quite quick, but then can still
so agile.
pick up good positions. Yeah. So like the
Igalo can dribble apparently. He can dribble. But yeah, like, I get you.
The Werners of this world, and I think it might be a much cheaper option than trying to play with hold up and getting a Sancho who's going to cost 100 million.
I think both ways work, man. I think both ways work because at the end of the day, solving the number 9 problem at Manchester United it's a problem that is fully predicated around, is this team even creating enough chances for Haaland? That's the scary part. If we had bought Haaland, would he have scored 5 goals in 58 minutes? Probably not, because we don't create the chances unless he was extremely clinical. And you can't expect that of a player. You can't expect a player to get one chance and bang it in every single game. Because even Greenwood is struggling now. Like, he's becoming a bit more inconsistent. He doesn't score that first time shot off that first touch. That's what we knew Greenwood for. First touch off the bench, he's got a goal. But it's not going to happen every game. And I think that's an unrealistic model for success in a football team. So I think yes and no. But I think the bigger question is, what about the players around him? What about the players around him? So if we do get a number 9, we need to invest in other positions for sure anyways. So that we're creating. If we get a classic number 9. It's a weird one.
Personally, I'd get an up-and-coming right wing who's not maybe extremely established but can do the job, and buy Timo Werner and let him compete with Martial. And spending 100 million on Jadon Sancho while we're still not completely sure about Martial. Yeah,
definitely. It's a weird one with Martial, dude. It's so weird because like with Martial, like everyone's saying you should play on the left. Cool. What happens when Rashford gets fit?
Yeah.
Do you then drop Martial for Rashford? That's you know what, I love Rashford and everything, but that hurts. That one hits different. Seeing Martial on the bench for Rashford. I don't know why, because maybe it's because of the connection those two players have and the fact that I'm used to seeing them play together, but seeing them share a position doesn't register with me. It doesn't feel right.
I think it's a bit hard for a lot of Nats fans because we have so much expectation for Martial.
Yeah, and it's getting to the point with Martial where the excuses are kind of getting old now, like where the sympathy is kind of getting old. Like, yeah, we get it. You're playing in a team that doesn't create chances. We get it. And everyone's just getting mad now, And even those of us that love Martial are starting to hop onto the agenda because we're like, but Chief, come on. Like, even with the few chances you get, at least hit the target. So it's getting to that point with Martial where we're just fed up. And I think with everything we're fed up. We're fed up with Oli, we're fed up with the Glazers, we're fed up with Woodward, we're fed up with the fact that we have so many injuries. So it's hard to make an objective call on what this team, what's the one position this team needs to fix right now before anything else. I think a right wing would be a great start, but so would a CDM, so would a striker, so would a left wing to replace Rashford. That would all be a great start. The only position I don't think we should be prioritizing is defense at the moment. Like, we should stop investing in defenders now. It's enough. It's enough. We've bought Maguire, we've bought Wan-Bissaka, we've got Williams, we've got Shaw. Maybe we need fullbacks, but it's enough now.
Yeah, it's not priority at the moment.
Yeah, it's not a desperate priority. You just gotta. The difficult thing with United is we're in a bad cycle at the moment, and I think I'll end off the show with this. I think it's going to be a very long time before we see Manchester United win a title. I think the next time Manchester United will challenge for a title, and this might sound scary, and it's a tough pill to swallow, I know, and I feel disgusted saying this, but the next time Manchester United are going to challenge for a title, in my opinion, if they continue with this plan for the future and don't buy their way out of trouble, which I don't mind, is the next time Liverpool go out of cycle and the next time Manchester City go out of cycle. In other words, when those teams are off their pinnacle and we, as well as Chelsea and Tottenham, start to catch up. And so I don't know what that team will look like. I don't know what players we will have at that time. I don't know how long that will be. Definitely more than 2 seasons, probably 3, 4, 5 even, I think. And we just got to be patient as a fan base if we really want to see the club go back to where it once was. But we're not going to catch up with Liverpool overnight when our main right winger is 21 years old from the Championship. It's not going to happen. So it's going to take time. And also, what I would add is, if Maguire and Lindelof are going to be the main centre-back pairing, that means Jones and Bailey are the backups. So we're stuck with them for the next 5 years because we decided to give them contracts. Well, Jones got a 5-year contract extension. And I think we should use him. I don't think Phil Jones should be starting for Manchester United, but again, if you're going to give someone a 5-year contract, use him. And there's so much dead wood at the club that you can't get rid of like right now and just click your fingers and it's all gone. So we're going to have to wait to weave out the dead wood, get inexperience in place of the dead wood, and still develop the youngsters we have in this team at the moment. And I think that's going to take a lot of time before we see some change. And also the massive question marks around Oli as well. And it's going to take time. And the scary thing is I don't think we've reached, to quote Mark Goldbridge, I don't think we've hit the bottom of the barrel yet. We're just scraping it, aren't we? So we've got to be patient. If we bought someone like a Koulibaly, right? If we bought someone like a Koulibaly, then we're probably sacrificing the right wing signing. Or if we buy Koulibaly and the right wing, then we're sacrificing the CDM. If we buy Koulibaly and a CDM, we're sacrificing the right wing. So something's always missing with United in the transfer window based on the pace that we've done it. And so by that logic, it's going to take us a long time. If we're signing 3 players but letting go of 4 every transfer window, how long do you think this team is going to take? If we're only having a net spend of 60 million. So in other words, the margin between us selling players and buying players is 60 million. That's how much money we spend. So if you guys don't know how that works, it's basically when we let go of Fellaini, and I know Ander Herrera left for free, and then we brought in Wan-Bissaka, Dan James, and Harry Maguire. The net spend was 60 million. Those players together cost nearly 200 million pounds, or just above 100 million pounds, sorry. But the net spend was 60 million because of the players we sold. That's how United work. They try and maintain a certain net spend because we've seen the patterns. And if we maintain that poor financial plan or whatever it is, it's going to take us a very long time to catch up because football works in cycles. Look at how long it took Liverpool to win a title. Do like the video, do subscribe. I think that's all of it, gentlemen. Anything else? Or
Nah.
Yeah, nothing really, no.
Cool. It's a bit of an abrupt ending. Anyways, catch you in the next one.